Welcome to Simply Liminal. My name is Stacy. This is my daily 2-card reading for Wednesday, March 6th, 2024. And I have to say, I can't believe that we're done with this week's working with this deck, but you know, that's how it goes. The week moved quickly because the energy of March is intense. It just whoosh, blows in, and here we are. Anyway, so last day that we're working with this deck, this is the Gods and Titans Oracle by Stacy DeMarco. I had mentioned in previous videos that I just got this deck. A couple weeks ago, I worked with a Goddess Oracle deck. It was called the Goddess Power Oracle by Colette Baron Reed. Loved it. Loved the divine feminine energy, but really felt like there needed to be a little bit of balance. There has to be balance. That's how things work well. Work smoothly, as if the divine feminine and the divine masculine are in balance. I feel like the divine feminine has been stomped down, shoved to the side, called witches and hookers and all sorts of other things for thousands and thousands of years. Not by the divine masculine, but by the shadow of the divine masculine. Things like control, power, rage, manipulation, those kind of things. Well, those can come from the divine feminine as well. But we have been living, I think, under a shadow version of masculine life. And now the feminine is rising, and hopefully we're going to get back into balance, because I think that's the most important thing. And the things that we can look forward to with the divine masculine are power, wisdom, action, protection, strength, focus, honor, gentle, kindness. Those things are important. Anyway, let us see what this day's card readings have for us. Like I said, the last day that we're working with this deck. I'll continue to do my daily 2-card reading where I look at the energy of the day, which is the force that's directed towards us from the universe, from the world, from our environment around us. And then the focus is the intention, the effort, or the response that we put into that energy. Because ultimately, no matter what happens, we have the ability to choose and respond and affect the energy that's coming at us. And that makes us so powerful, because we have that choice and that ability to do that. And so that's one of the reasons when I decided to do these 2-card readings. I could have done a single card reading. I could have done a 3-card. A lot of times for myself when I'm doing readings, I pull 3 cards. Different versions of it, not like past, present, future always, but different things. For these monthly readings, I'm doing like an energy and then something we need to release and something we need to initiate. But I wanted to do 2. I felt like 2, sorry, I had a little piece of hair stuck under my reading glasses, was important because it can let us know, yes, the energy that's coming at us and the focus, which I think is our response. And we have that ability to choose, and I think that's great. I also want to say that before any of these readings, I open a circle of light and love and protection around myself and these readings, and that extends to anyone who watches these readings, no matter when it is. And I also want to tell you that no matter when you come to these readings, whether it's today, tomorrow, next week, or next year, it doesn't matter if it doesn't match the timestamp. I believe that there's something in the reading for you on that day, even 2.5 years from now. If you find this reading, then there was some message for you at that time. I truly believe that's how this works. It's an amazingly beautiful spiritual world that we live in. So let's look at the energy of the day. Alrighty. And then focus. All right. Okie dokie, let's see what we have on this last day of working with this deck. And it's shiny. Sorry, y'all. Here we have Apollo. He was one of the great ones, twin of Artemis. Apollo was associated with the sun, as Artemis was associated with the night and the moon. But he was a warrior. He was an archer. He was a musician. He was a poet. He was kind of all of the things, Apollo. But the message on the card for us is inquiry. I'm holding that up so you can see that. So I think this is intense energy that's coming at us again today. Sorry about the shine here. I'm trying. Well, you know, Apollo probably doesn't mind. He's like, I'm a shiny dude. You can have a little bit of shimmering on me. I am associated with the sun and all sorts of wonderful things. But I think that Apollo energy coming at us is going to be intense, direct, almost blinding. Not in a bad way, but you know, sometimes when the sun is so bright and you just kind of almost got to squint against it, or you put your hand up to cover your eyes, or you just pull the brim of your hat down a little bit. I kind of feel like that's the energy that we're going to be getting today. So this Wednesday, we'll see. Apollo inquiry, it says. Look for the truth in the situation. Ask, and your questions will be answered. Take the time to uncover and connect with who you really are and what you really want. It says use your inner wisdom. So this is interesting because I don't necessarily think of that with Apollo. Though I will say Apollo was associated with the oracle at Delphi. In the myths, there was a serpent there that was in control of the oracle. And you can consider the oracle whatever it was, like a series of women who were able to give messages to people from the divine spirit. But the myth is that there was a serpent in charge there, and however the divination worked, and Apollo defeated the serpent and took over the oracle. And so that bit of truth and inquiry was associated with Apollo. And so I think that's what that energy is telling us, and in a way we're beautifully working with oracle cards, talking about Apollo's association with the oracle at Delphi. We're also talking about divination. I believe that came up yesterday, just talking about how divination can help us answer questions. And so Apollo's message is inquiry. And so I think this will have to do with Delphi. Let's read what she has in here. Apollo, son of Zeus and Leto, was one of the most deeply honored gods of the ancient world. The Greeks, the Romans, and even the Celts honored the glowing bringer of light with major temples and sacred places spread throughout the Hellenistic and Roman empires. Zeus, father of the Greek gods, fell in love with the nymph Leto, and she became pregnant. Hera, Zeus's wife, naturally wasn't happy about this and chased Leto across the world. Hera made sure there was nowhere safe for Zeus's lover to bear the child by cursing Leto so that no firm ground would accept her in her labor. Happily, the island of Delos, where the Greeks considered the land that moved upon the ocean, accepted Leto. She gave birth to not one but two babies. The goddess of the hunt, Artemis, was firstborn and is said to have assisted her mother in bringing her twin Apollo into the world. Both twins shoot arrows that can bring favor or death. That's true. Artemis is also, she is wild, and she is of the night and the hunt, but very much associated with archery as well. It says here, Apollo is a healer and the god of music. It was said that he created magical songs that he could heal illness with when sung by humans. Evidence indicates that music was a major feature in his temples and worship. In his role of sun god and light giver, Helios is considered the god of sun in Greek mythology, though as years passed, that kind of passed to Apollo a little bit. Like a little bit of that sun connection, more of that sun connection became associated with him. In his role of sun god and light giver, the shining Apollo is also the god of prophecy and oracles. The word oracle means to speak through, and sometimes the oracles have indeed been living creatures, most often people, through whom the gods relay their messages. The most famous oracle was at Delphi in ancient Greece, where Apollo was said to speak through the priestess known as the Delphic oracle. Some of the most famous generals and conquerors of the ancient world, including Caesar, Alexander the Great, Croesus of Lydia, consulted the Delphic oracle. Actually, even I just was thinking about the movie 300, but they go to see the oracle at Delphi there, and that's kind of a weird trippy thing. She's all like hyped up on some gas, which is actually probably true. That's probably exactly what was happening there at Delphi, like some gas that's coming up from the earth and helping these women connect to spirit in some way. Anyway, I just want to mention that we see that in art as well. Consulted the Delphic oracle, such as was its power and political influence for more than 1,000 years. The priestess sat on a 3-legged stool and breathed in vapors that rose mysteriously from a fissure near a sacred spring. The Greeks considered this beautiful yet somewhat harsh setting the closest place on earth to Apollo, and it was known as the omphalos, or navel, of the universe. The Delphic oracle often answered questions with riddles or verse or in an unknown language. Maybe like when the Bible talks about speaking in tongues, that's how she was communicating. The priest or priestess serving the oracle interpreted these answers. However, the oracle always left the ultimate interpretation of true meaning to the person asking the question. This encouraged the asker's inner intuition and wisdom to come into play. You can still visit Delphi today. Though priests and priestesses no longer attend the location, it is still an energetically powerful place with amazing runes and a wonderful museum. When you look to others to advise you, or to an oracle like these cards to give you some insight, know that the final decision is up to you. You have the final say and the power to make good decisions for yourself. Yep, it does come down to us. And it's kind of like I was explaining in this form of reading. We're getting this energy, which is, wow, we've got the energy of the oracle coming at us through Apollo, the great shining one. But our interpretation and our response is up to us. And that's why I love this type of reading that I'm doing and kind of have developed for this, the focus. So let's look at what our focus is going to be today. And here we have Vulcan again. And I think Vulcan showed up on our very first day of readings. First or second day. It's been a while. I wish I'd write these down. I'm just not going to get organized, I guess. But Vulcan, we have him, and he is associated with inventiveness. So let's look at what the deck says about Vulcan. But I think that if we're talking about this energy coming at us as being oracle messages from the divine, then inventiveness is important in how we interpret the messages that are coming at us on this day, especially on this day. Always, you know, but maybe especially on this day. So let me read from the book here. It's interesting also, I'll say this, I guess, at the end, but the connection that both of these have with the goddess Hera. So think outside of the box and go for the most creative solution. Hold your emotions in check and think rationally. There was one god the ancient Romans valued above all others for his inventiveness and ingenuity, a Vulcan. In his Greek embodiment, Hephaestus, he was both respected and courted by the other gods for his skills, yet scorned as well, for he is not perfectly physical as are other gods. In fact, when Juno, Vulcan's mother, saw her son, she flung him from Olympus down to the land of Lemnos on earth. Thetis, who was the mother of Achilles, raised him, and he invented the art of blacksmithing. Now, in Roman mythology, the queen of the gods is Juno, but in Greek mythology, she is Hera. And Hera was the person who made it so difficult for Apollo to be born, because she was upset with Zeus's philandering and the fact that he got somebody else knocked up, right? So here we have this same energy. This may talk about Hera, this may talk about Juno, but this is the same feminine energy that is said to have caused these problems, you know, or not caused these problems, but anyway, who played a role in these. There is nothing that Vulcan cannot make. His creativity and inventiveness abound. He crafts items that are not only beautiful, but supremely practical. The wing boots of Mercury, also known as Hermes in Greek mythology, who just showed up for us yesterday. The armor of Achilles, Sol's sun chariot, Sol, also known as Helios, the unbreakable chains that held poor Prometheus to his rock, and incredibly others as well. His intelligence and mastery alone shone when he tricked the rather unmotherly Juno not only into allowing him into her home, but also into granting him the hand of the most beautiful goddess, Venus. When you need to think outside of the box, when you have to run out of ideas, or when you need to create something practical to solve a problem, Vulcan is your god. Celebrating or further developing your uniqueness and cognitive abilities are also Vulcan's traits. I just want to kind of go back and finish this myth about Vulcan. It says here, in fact, when Juno, Vulcan's mother, saw her son, she flung him from Olympus down to the island of Lemnos. So she was the aggressor there because there was something she didn't like when she seen that child. When this card came up before, I talked about a different version of that myth, and I'm going to mention that before I'm done. But it is said that when the Greeks have inherited... Okay. Sorry, I got a little cockeyed here in the book. It is said that the geeks have inherited our earth now. I've got Greeks on my mind instead of, and I said that instead of geeks, but this is talking about geeks. There are people who used to use their minds and inventiveness rather than the force and brawn. I don't really like the term geek, though I do kind of always say hi to my friends as like, hey, geeks and freaks. But Vulcan would appreciate this very much. He was a misfit and was literally cast out of Olympus, but he accepted who he was and found a place in the world. So I think the overall message here, before I kind of take a side moment to talk about these myths, is we have Apollo giving us great inquiry and information through an oracle or signs, whatever it is, your spirit animals, somebody you haven't seen in 10 years just suddenly popping back into your life. Those are messages from spirit. And then we need to be inventive in our interpretation of them. I think it's a beautiful reading. I'm curious to see what this day is going to be like. I'm really, really curious. I just want to say something a little bit here about the myths around Hera or Juno. I talked at the beginning of the reading about how I feel like the divine feminine really has been held down, held back, because of the shadow masculine energy that rose over thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And I think we see that in the myths of Hera and Juno. These women, Hera's always like mad at one of Zeus's women, you know, that he's always running around getting pregnant. She never seems mad at him. She's mad at the women. And that's like one of those stereotypes about women. I think that that's what we're seeing, that we see some of these myths are still stripped of their truth, and we see only the vengeful, cruel story behind it, and that's not the whole truth. Another version of the Vulcan or Hephaestus myth is that Hera wanted to have a child of her own. Zeus had multiple children with multiple men. They had a couple children together in mythology. One is Ares, the god of war, which I've always found that interesting, that they, the god and goddess of the Olympic pantheon, produced the god of war. But they had a couple other kids as well. But Zeus had many children. He even had Athena pop out of his head, fully formed on his own. He says he didn't. There was a female involved there. But so Hera created a child on her own. She did that because women are creators and they are wombs. And she did this thing. She created a beautiful child. And they say that Zeus's anger was so awful at what she had done, or what she created, that she created something without him, that he took that child and threw it from Olympus, where it fell down to earth and was damaged. And that is another version of the story of Hephaestus and Vulcan. And not that Hera ever rejected him or that Juno ever rejected him. So know that in these myths, there are different versions and variations. And I've gone on too long about that, but I just want to say that sometimes with the rise of the shadow masculine, we see this vindictive shadow feminine as well. And that is why I feel like it's so strong that we get things back into balance, because that is where we are strongest. That's where we are meant to be in balance. That's where life feels the best when we're in balance, and the world is better when things are in balance. And so hopefully by like 2 weeks ago, looking at an oracle deck that talked about the goddesses, and now this week talking about the gods, that we can kind of help learn about these energies and find a way for balance again. So I'm sad to see this deck go. I've really enjoyed it. I just got it this week. I haven't even done a personal reading for it myself. The only happy thing I can find about this now is I told myself I wasn't going to do my own reading with this deck until our readings this week were done. And so I guess I can do my own reading with this deck. But Gods and Titans by Stacy DeMarco. Beautiful. Sorry this reading got so long. I took off on a little bit of a tangent there, but I hope you've enjoyed it. I still love that we have the light shining down on Apollo and all of his glory. And we have and we are left with the inventiveness of Vulcan, because if you are inventive and creative, you can do anything. I can do anything. All the people around us can do anything. And that is a beautiful message. So thank you so much. My name is Stacy. Thank you for visiting Simply Liminal with me.